All right, buddy, we're back.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a little bit. You know, we're trying to be as consistent as we can.
Yeah, trying.
Back with another episode of How We See It, the podcast version.
Yeah. But lots of stuff to see.
Yeah, so, yes, indeed. You know, let's just start out this conversation by saying that we have things we talk about. We sit and we talk every week about preparing for the show. We spend some time bouncing around ideas, but it's worth noting that today we both looked at each other and was like, the amount of bullshit that all of us have to maneuver through on a daily basis is unbelievable. Just in trying to live our lives, right?
Yeah.
The things you hear that aren't true, that make no sense, that are absurd. I mean, it's nuts.
We're navigating through stupidity in a lot of the instances that we talk about. I mean, I don't even know where to begin with that. It's just, there's gas stoves.
We were going there.
I mean, but let's start there because, okay, why all of a sudden now gas stoves are bad? Fumes and indoor pollution, but for fucking decades, no problem. But now fossil fuels under attack, apparently, and
no, that's not what it's about. It's about dangerous indoor fumes
and climate change
that are hurting young people. You know, that magically all of a sudden, kind of, somewhat.
First of all, gas stoves are way better than electric stoves. They cook way better. I love gas over electric.
Most chefs do, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's pure. I don't even know how to justify this. It's pure stupidity because when you think about it, okay, gas stoves have been in existence for how long? And all of a sudden now in 2023, it's a problem.
Yeah.
What changed?
The movements.
Right.
The intensity of the movements.
The gas is still the same.
Now, of course, CNN, had a live mic circumstance this past week where one of their on-air commentators was having a little panel discussion there and kind of, I guess, was told not to say something in her ear, but she kind of spit it out like, isn't this really about the strive
industry
to reduce fossil fuels or and oh, wait a second, she said, I guess I'm in trouble now. She actually said that on the air.
And the guy goes, no, it's about climate change. Like, that's the response to everything. Like, and still to this day, I still don't know what the fuck climate change is. Like, I don't, because everybody talks about it, and I know it's a thing, right? I've never really cared enough to dig into it deeply, but I've never heard somebody explain it in an eloquent and simplistic way that me, the average person, doesn't really give a shit about it, could understand. But it's the answer for most things.
So I am the furthest thing from a scientist, and
you don't say.
I am, absolutely. I just find it interesting that the Earth, it's pretty acceptably understood the Earth has been around for 4-point-some billion years. Sure. That's what most scientists from all ilk believe that.
Okay.
I find it a little crazy that we can take a period of time of, let's just say, 200 years. And we can examine this 200 years. And from that data, we can then determine that, we know exactly the Earth is warming. Yeah. We know exactly what the history of the Earth is prior to that. We're certain. I just think there's a lot of unknowns. And yes, is the Earth warming up? Okay, if people smarter than me say so, that's fine. But to disrupt our entire lives...
Yeah, I mean, and look, I mean, science is predictive, right? There's no, I mean, you can't predict the future. You can't know the future. You can predict what you think is going to happen based upon historical data, but end all be all, until we get there, we have no fucking clue.
Isn't it more about just a channeling of the money to a different group of people? I mean, you have
everything's about money and power.
One industry that is not convenient for the environment.
Yeah.
Another industry that's being sold to the public as being much more convenient to the environment. Let's channel the money here over here. It's just a power play to me. And the reality is, you're not going to convince me that the move to electric is actually better for our environment.
No, I mean, I don't, because you still need fossil fuels to make the things that go in the electric things.
Well, all the mining that needs to be done, and the batteries that have to be built, and again, I just think it's an exchange of the wealth from one industry to another under the guise of doing something better for humanity.
Yeah, I mean, that was the pandemic. The pandemic was the biggest transfer of wealth we'll see in our lifetime. When you think about it, I mean, there's so many things like that in society where it's the behind the scenes, in my opinion. Again, I'm not an expert on this, I'm not an economist, but it is a transfer of wealth under the guise of something that's socially correct or environmentally correct.
Well, it's a flavor of the moment. Like the last 30, 40 years, it's socially. But you go back to the 60s and the 50s and 40s, no one gave a shit.
No one.
And my argument is, if it really is about the environment and the impact of the ongoing impact of the environment being destroyed by these energy companies from all ilks, then I don't know. I mean, I don't see a quick solution to move to nuclear power.
No.
It's got to be the cleanest power possibly available.
Sure.
Right? They won't have that conversation.
No, because it's not convenient to them.
Exactly right.
Well,
it's not their industry. See?
Well,
their friends aren't populating that industry.
Well, and also it's easy to say climate change and electric vehicles. It's easy for people to understand. Oh, it's climate change. It's like, when you say nuclear, people think nuclear is bad.
Yeah, it triggers them.
Right, it triggers them. So it's like we can't articulate our position around nuclear because the common person may not really get it or want to understand it. So we're just going to say this other stuff.
Yeah, and the common person really doesn't understand deeply where the ore and the mining that needs to be done for the batteries that they just see fit in these fancy Teslas.
Yeah.
And the impact that has to countries and people and miners and all that goes with that, right? That's inconvenient to talk about.
Every time I think about climate change and electric vehicles, I just think about when they had the blackouts in California in the summertime and people were using gas-powered generators to charge their electric cars.
Yeah.
It's like, that should tell you everything you need to know right there. Like, that whole little scenario that happened is indicative of what would happen. Like, just understand, like, you can't get rid of fossil fuels.
No. And it's funny because, if the two warring sides in this country, well beyond the political end, just the two warring philosophies would find a way to meet in the middle, you could slowly and efficiently wean us off of fossil fuels over a couple decades and slowly find better ways that are better for humanity, right? But no one wants it. They want the quick fix because it's a soundbite on the news. It brings money to their particular cottage industries. Yeah. It's bullshit.
Well, and no one wants to meet in the middle because if you meet in the middle, you solve the problem and they're not needed anymore.
Right.
The parties are always, they're in constant conflict, so they're constantly needed by the people to fight for their position. If you solve all the problems, then what do you need these people for? It's self-preservation in my mind.
So, a couple other things here to bounce around. But the gist of why we went there is just like
stupidity.
It's just another example of stupidity. The muck of stupidity that we have to maneuver through every day when we're all trying to just live our lives the best we can and be as industrious as we can, provide for our families, but we have to wade through the muck.
This is why I don't pay attention to a lot of things anymore. I just said, you know what? Some of this shit is so off the wall.
It's kind of funny, though, when you take a couple steps back and look at it broadly. It's kind of funny.
It is, but it's also just like, come on.
Well, speaking of funny, could you imagine a scenario more perfect than Joe Biden finding classified documents in his garage next to his vintage vet?
Yeah.
Them discovering it a week or two before the elections, not telling anybody about it right away, at least not publicly, till after the elections.
Yeah.
And now doing their best to say, well, we did do something bad, but not as bad as the Orange Man. Could you imagine a funnier scenario that could have played out? But then again, this is the post-2020 world, so of course it happened.
Yeah.
Of course, nothing surprises me. But it's so funny.
Well, and what's ridiculous about it is they keep finding them in different places. Like, they just found, I think, 3 or 5 more documents this past week, like in his study. It's like, okay, you have classified documents spread all over God's green fucking earth. Trump had them in one place, and the FBI came in and raided, took everything. Biden has them when he was VP, not from when he was president, when you have the ability to declassify information. When you were vice president, when you have no ability to declassify information, he has these documents spread in the Penn Biden library, his study, his fucking garage. And it's like, no, it's not a big deal. Like, well, special counsel being appointed.
Nothing to see here.
We're good. No worries. Don't worry about this. It's bullshit. You can't have, and that's the fucking problem. These double standards. We can't have them. If you're going to raid Trump, raid Biden. Like,
yeah, why didn't they bust down Biden's door? Why didn't they, or go to his other residence? Now, listen, hey, if they found them at this location, he has other places that he spends time. How come we don't know more about what exactly was in there?
Right, exactly.
I mean, it's no secret that he has a history of issues with his son's behavior and the suspicion of how that works out with Ukraine and all kinds of money exchanging hands. If there's nothing there, just quelch all that. Put it out there and say, look, there's nothing to it. Here's what's in there. We made a mistake. It's there. Okay. But, my family didn't go look at Hunter Biden didn't go look at them. They're not in dangerous people's hands.
That's the scary
part. They don't
part.
Say anything.
Well, because
they say nothing.
Well, I tend to, again, not being a conspiracy theorist, I tend to think that Biden's going to be the fall guy. Because I think there was a lot of bad shit going on. I mean, look at the stuff that came out from Hunter. Like, there were actual meetings where Biden met with his business associates in the White House when he said, no, I didn't. I never met. It was like blatant lies. But again, gets thrown under the rug. They kick it. Like, don't look over here. Nothing's going on over here. All that stuff. Then there was something with like a big business owner in Mexico. Like Biden or Hunter Biden wrote emails to him saying, like, I got you the meetings. He was asking for money. Like, I got you the meetings. I know my name got you in the door. You talk to the right people. It's like, come on. Like, what has been going on?
How are those emails not enough to warrant investigations?
Because look who's in control.
But that should not supersede logic, especially when it comes to the safety of the country, right? Forget the intent to find criminal behavior.
Sure.
Just look at the safety of the country at the forefront, our security.
Okay.
Right? That should be at the forefront.
Right, but do you believe politics are logical?
Absolutely.
Do you believe politicians are logical?
Well, it's always a tit for tat game.
It's a preservation of power game.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. And I truly believe that at some point during his presidency, he will become the fall guy because he's not going to rerun. There's no way he can run for re-election. He can't even see straight or think straight.
So does it not astound you, though, that here we are in year 2023, we have a senile man with the checkered past that he has and with all of these circumstances of a son that has a tapestry of issues
yes,
relating to then trying to mix his business with his dad's business.
Yeah, yes.
All this is out there. And there's talk about it, but nothing ever gets done.
Right.
But at the center of it is a man that really probably can't tie his own shoes right now.
Yeah.
And we're all supposed to continue to pretend that he's okay.
Yeah.
We have to pretend, right?
I believe the wheels are slowly falling off the bus. I think over the next 12 to 18 months, things will start happening, I think. Because it's a shit show right now.
But who's controlling it, Rocco? Like, okay, so we have all these things happening in the world, right? All these geopolitical issues. Huge mess in Ukraine right now, Russia. Not blaming the United States for the mess. I'm just saying it's there. This is the man who's running the free world. So I know he can't run the free world. He doesn't have the capacity. So who is?
Someone behind the curtain.
Is it Jill? Is it his wife?
No.
Who is it?
Again, not a conspiracy theorist. Not.
It can't be him.
No. I've always believed there's a bigger power behind government. The people in the world that have the money have the power. Government is just the way they exert the power. Like, think about it. The most wealthy families, the ones we don't even know about, we don't even know their names because they paid enough money to stay out of the news cycle. Those are the ones moving the chess pieces around, in my opinion. And we'll never know. We'll never know until you get to that level of wealth.
I guess. So you're just saying there's just two big movements that just keep like rolling through society.
Mm-hmm. I mean, think about George Soros, right? Like, you know about him, right?
Oh, we certainly do.
But he think about how he controls things. Like, he donates to local level DA campaigns to control
that's his strategy,
right? Like, to control the criminal justice system. Like, it's all a game of chess, in my opinion. It's all. I mean, these people are very smart the way they do things, and I don't think. And that's why I think Trump got so much vitriol, because he was the first person that came and said, I'm not going to play by these rules. I'm going to shake shit up, and I'm going to, I don't need, he was already a billionaire.
Right.
I don't need anybody, because all these presidents come in, and I mean, look at all these politicians. They come in, they make, not a wealthy, I mean, they make a good living, but not something that's going to make you,
right.
100 millionaire, but they all come out and they're doing pretty well when they do what they're supposed to do. I mean, think about it. Think about the money these politicians make. Think about Biden or Obama went into this presidency, I think, at a net worth of like $400,000 in multi-millions in the 8 years. Explain that when you make a $400,000 salary.
Oh, yeah.
There's
and
people
Bill
behind the curtain.
Clinton's estate as well, too.
Yeah, I mean, there's people behind the curtain controlling things, man.
Because I think when Bill was first elected, he was the governor of Arkansas. I think he was making $40,000 a year or something. That was the salary for that position.
Right. I mean, it's a game of checkers.
Yeah.
Or chess, excuse me, not checkers.
Well, while we're talking politics, what about this George Santos? Like, I mean, so apparently
just
he
don't
gets
fucking lie.
Newly elected, and all this in his background that he used to campaign and stump with, most of it is not factually accurate.
Right.
Which means it's a lie.
Yes.
Including his sexual orientation.
Why? Like, I don't, again, like, just be truthful. I mean, look, I believe every politician lies or fabricates the truth or manipulates facts in their favor. Like, there's never, I don't. Embellishment, yes. However, I mean, the stuff he lied about was like, why? Like, what's the logic? What's the logic behind it? You're going to get caught eventually.
What's interesting, though, is like, the House of Representatives is the people's house.
Sure.
The idea being that you have these small geographic areas and you pull the common folk. Yeah. I would think, hopefully, we're pulling the common folk, the grassroots people, for lack of a better phrase, the unwashed masses, and bringing them into the political system. It's a great system.
Yeah.
But it's like, you can't tell me in that entire congressional district, that's the best they got?
Well, it's
how's that possible?
Because here's why. You can't look at it from it's the best we've got. It is the best we've got out of the people who wanted the job. Because remember, not everybody wants that job. Most people don't want to be in the public light. So your pool of applicants for that position is very small, right? Because think about it. Like, I contemplated politics in the past, but it's like, why? There's stress. You make less money. You can't do certain things. Like, what's the point? Unless I can really affect change, which someday I may still try and do. But so you have people that don't want those jobs, right? That's why we see the types of politicians we have. You don't see titans of business.
Right.
Trump was really the first, and Romney, I think, too, really two true titans of industry and business that said, I want to make a run at this to try and make change. Most people are just career politicians or kind of came up, go to law school, go to the military, kind of do what the politicians do to make that path towards Congress or something. The applicant pool is very small. So in his district, it is, and it's because you want the best. And I believe some politicians are great. Don't get me wrong; it's not every politician. I do believe a lot of them do good and want to do good, but the system is corrupted. That's the problem. Like, they could come in and have the best intentions with what they want to do for society and for their district, but the system corrupts them. That's how I look at it. Not everybody, but I think the majority of people get corrupted at some point in time.
Yeah, I've always liked your idea of term limits too.
Yes.
To kind of grandfather those who have to make the hard decision to implement them.
Yeah, I mean, you need constant change. You need new ideas. You need fresh ideas, fresh faces. new energy within Congress, within politics, and we should be doing stuff like that.
Which is, I think, is the purpose of the House, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Of all the three, that's the one that's supposed to bring you the continual fresh turnover.
Exactly. Shorter terms.
Yeah, I just find it, at some point, like, well, I mean, what's the legal ramifications of lying like that? I mean, at what level of lying do you now disqualify yourself to hold the seat? Or can you get ousted from the seat?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know. I would assume if you lied on some sort of document, right, you fraudulently stated, like if he's just lying on his campaign speeches, I mean, I feel like most politicians bullshit on their campaigns, on their stump speeches.
Yeah.
But if he's lying on like disclosures he had to make, any campaign financing things, any type of campaign registrations they have to do, then I think that there's probably penalties for that. I don't know the actual legal ramifications of that. I'm just a regular lawyer.
You'll never live that down.
No, I had to throw it in there.
I'll never live that down.
It was a perfect opportunity.
So Nikki Haley this past couple of weeks has been talking about running for president.
Okay.
What's your thoughts on her?
I don't know enough about her to say one way or the other. I think she's decent from what I know
Governor
about her.
of what, South Carolina, I think?
Yeah, I think.
And then UN ambassador, is that right?
Yeah, like from what I've seen of her and what I know of her, I like. I don't know anything that I've seen that has been negative. I don't know enough about her to formulate a optimistic or positive opinion. It's kind of just indifferent right now until I know more. I still like DeSantis to run.
He has to be in the lead at the moment, I would think, right?
Who else is there? The same people that always run, the Ted Cruz of the world, I like DeSantis because DeSantis doesn't give a shit. He does what he's done.
Mm-hmm.
But he does
Greg Abbott in Texas, right?
Yeah.
And the guy in Virginia.
But DeSantis does it in a polished way. Mm-hmm. Like, I think he knows how to play the game, but also knows how to not take people's bullshit. He's Trump from a not taking shit, but he's opposite of Trump on how to actually do it, how to maneuver.
Yeah, I would thoroughly agree on that. Plus, the delivery is more tempered, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's very matter of fact. Like, his delivery is very, like, he's like, no, you're wrong. Like, here's what actually happened. Like, he doesn't get into pissing matches with people. He just comes very matter of fact and factually. I like him.
So, Kevin McCartney, through his leadership, his new leadership, there was a vote on Proxy.
Yeah.
No proxy voting, right?
Yeah.
So help explain and unpack what that is.
Yeah, so I think proxy voting, they put a rule in place during COVID, so you don't have to be there to vote on bills or things that are passing through the House.
But of course, it was never unwound after COVID.
Correct. So because of COVID, we can vote by proxy. Like, send somebody there or send in a proxy. He's like, no, you've got to be here to vote. If you don't show up, your vote doesn't count. So to me, like, that's what they should be doing. Like, you are elected officials getting paid by tax dollars. When it's time to do your job, show up to fucking do your job.
That should be priority number one.
Correct. I mean, if nurses and doctors had to go during the height of COVID to show up to do their job, you are the people running the country that we elected. Like, you need to get your ass to Congress and do your job. And I'm glad that he did that.
Yeah, I think so on premise too. But see, that's funny how, isn't it interesting how it's being sold to the masses, like no proxy voting? Well, the average person will hear that and not give it much thought and dismiss it. Mm-hmm. But if you explain to them, what they have done is they are demanding that people show up and vote in person.
Yeah, show up and do your job.
Instead of using the word proxy, which most people will dismiss.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, to me, it's just like, they're just saying, do what you're supposed to do and what you get paid to do.
Well, it's kind of the same but different in regards to voting. Show up and vote.
Yes. Voting should not be a month-long process. Voting should be a day.
Yeah, I don't know how that month-long process thing actually works. Like, how do you have a contest where you can vote, but then if you change your mind 2 weeks later, go back and change it? Like, how does that work? That's a whole nother show. But I just we've got to
fix it all. Everything, yes.
And it goes, and that will actually lead a very windy road back to the concept of, you're not wrong. You're not really wrong. If you make a mistake, it's not really wrong. They give you an opportunity to change your mistake.
No.
It's like you don't want to offend anybody. We're giving you another opportunity to fix it. Yeah, because we don't want to offend anybody. Or potentially make someone be disadvantaged in their voting, right?
You being offended is your problem, not mine.
Yeah. We've been saying that for
I will
freaking years
continue
on
to say
this
that.
show.
If I say
we're
something,
going to hang that on the wall in here, I think.
If I say something offensive, that's on me. If what I say offends you, that's on you.
100%. Yeah.
It's my soapbox for the night.
That's good, though. So let's change a little bit here. So Russia, this whole war in Ukraine, my God, we're over a year now, right? Are we closing in on a year?
I didn't realize it was still going on because everybody changed their Facebook profile pictures. I mean, I don't see the flags anymore, so I figured it was over. I'm saying that jokingly, but it's, again, that's the problem with America.
Yeah, so apparently as we sit here today, Russia is preparing for what they assume to be a very big offensive. It was phrased by the Russian leader as there's 2/3 of our country currently surrounded and we're waiting for the impending doom that they're going to bring. Now, we're in a position as Americans, I guess, that the Biden administration is going to send like $3 billion more. At what point do we stop our engagement in terms of the combat? Like, I mean, I don't have the answer. So
No.
it's got to be very tricky. And, to everybody that's in the military working on that, God bless you. But, I mean, we are giving aid, we are giving them weapons, but we're not actually doing the firing ourselves.
Right.
We're only giving these kind of weapons and not these kind of weapons because that might piss off the Ruskies. Like, I don't really know how the average citizen can look into there and have an understanding of what exactly we're doing or not doing, or even kind of like why we're still in there mixing it up.
Yeah.
When it doesn't seem to be any hope that...
I have no idea.
It's been a year.
Yeah, and we keep giving them money. I mean, we have problems here to
Over
fix.
$100 billion.
And we have problems here to fix.
$100 billion. And I know everything's funny money today,
Yeah.
monopoly money, but $100 billion.
That's a lot of money. That is a lot of money. I mean, when you think about it, I mean, for what? Like, I don't know the real reason. Like, and again, I don't know the geopolitical nature. Like, I don't know why Ukraine is so important to us. Why? I don't know. There's a reason, I'm sure.
How about this theory? I am Mr. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. Let me be the one that'll be throwing daggers at today. What about all this stuff that we're hearing about that there were bioweapon labs within Ukraine that were part of this system that the United States was involved with through Dr. Fauci's work and so forth. But some of these were in the western portion of Ukraine. I have no idea if that's true.
That. Yeah,
I have no idea if that's true. But there's got to be a reason we're so invested in this bullshit.
Yeah, I don't. That's what I can't figure out. That's a lot of money, $100 billion. Think what that could do to veterans in this country, for children in this country. Like, that money could be used to fix our problems. Like, we are a flawed country, like greatest country on earth. I believe that, but we have many problems we could fix, and if we're giving away money that freely, like, okay, we're giving $100 billion to Ukraine, right? And we say, we'll fix problems here by forgiving student loan debt. No. How about you take $100 million and you get rid of homeless veterans? You take care of the people that fought for this country. You take care of kids
that can't eat.
Right. Like, look at kids, like malnutritioned kids or malnourished kids. Like, there should be no kid in this country that's hungry ever.
At a bare minimum.
At a bare minimum, never should be the case.
Yep.
If we can
Anybody,
give $100 billion,
matter.
if we can give $100 billion to a country across the world to potentially cover up some bioweapon bullshit, but we can't take care of our own people, that's a problem. Like, we have bigger problems in this country to solve. We need to start looking at us first.
You would think.
Yeah. Yes.
So, what is this whole thing with I have to lean on you because I don't know a lot about this, but the whole...
You're assuming I know a lot about
chat,
this too.
Yeah, I'm assuming. But the whole chat GPT, is that what it is?
That's amazing.
Well, so Google and OpenAI are going to war.
Of course.
What is that?
So OpenAI was this company that started, and again, I'm not the expert in this, but I think it was in November, like late November, they released this, which is free, called Chat GPT.
Okay.
It's literally AI technology that will do anything, like answer anything, like crazy ridiculous. So like literally you go to this, you create an account, say you're a high school kid. You can say, hey, please write me a 500-word essay on the Civil War in America from the perspective of the North.
Okay.
It'll spit you out within 30 seconds. It'll write you a 500-word essay, and it's good. Like, really good.
All right.
It'll write blog posts. Like, you can say, hey, write me 10 social media posts for a real estate agent trying to attract first-time home buyers. Mm-hmm. It'll give you 10 social media posts. I mean, I've watched videos of this thing create software code.
That's crazy.
And it's all free.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And Google's battling it because now people are using it on blogs, and like Google's trying to create, I think, is trying to create software to detect things that were built by AI, not by a human.
Okay.
Because it's getting so good where like people don't have to do anything. Like it's going to put like marketers not out of business, or they can just help them improve their efficiency so much, because just have Chat GPT write you a blog post. Write me a 1,000-word blog post on, breakfast, on the keto diet, and it'll bang you out one. Like it's insane.
Supposedly there's a fear that it's going to attack a lot of white collar jobs.
They talk about that with lawyers too, right? So it says, it'll write you a contract, which, okay, it may be able to do that, but it doesn't interpret the contract. Like there are certain professions that, yes, I think it can make a profession more efficient, but it can't. Like there are certain things like lawyers and doctors and accountants. Like yes, it can do financial calculations, but can it? What we do as lawyers, even what you do, we interpret information. Right. We generate the information. We can generate the contract, but if you go on a website, like say you go on ChatGPT, and I need write me a contract for selling a house. With 6% down payment and some other terms, and it writes you the contract, right? Who's interpreting it? Who's telling you what it means? How do you know it has everything in there? You're assuming what it spits out is efficient. It may or may not be, but you need the expertise of the white collar professional. Like that's why I don't worry about that, because what I sell is my 20 years of experience, not the document I create. It's the 20 years of experience that went into creating that document. Right. But I mean, it's still an amazing technology.
So I guess Google is going to be competing with this OpenAI. OpenAI is the company.
That's the company
out of San Francisco, I think. Right.
Small company. I think Elon Musk had something to do with them. And I'm assuming they're going to start at some point charging for ChatGPT, because I think the last article I read, because the computing power is so great, it's burning like $3 million a day.
That's crazy.
Just to run run the technology. Like that's what's nuts. Wow. But there's so many AI websites out there. Like, I mean, there are websites out there where you can, and I've watched videos of this happen. They'll go to ChatGPT and say, write me a 3-minute script for a YouTube video about buying rental properties. Boom. They take the script, they upload into this other AI software that has like people, like video avatars of people that'll say that transcript on a video that you can put on YouTube. Wow. You don't have to do anything. You can literally create videos in 30 seconds. Like it's nuts.
It's a strange world.
I went down a rabbit hole of watching a video about artificial technology, and this guy, Alex Hormozy, who I follow, he's an entrepreneur, younger guy, like really successful, but he's super smart. Like he's very thoughtful and wise beyond his years. And he was talking about AI and just like how AI will get so smart at some point. Like his belief is that they will decide whether they need us or not. Like the machine learning.
Scary.
And then he also talked about how like humans will begin to fall in love with artificial intelligence, because the artificial intelligence, like if they create like robots or whatever, they'll be so in tune with how to speak to us, to our emotions, where they will know how to get us to love them faster than a human can get us to love them. I'm listening to this. I was driving to pick up my car.
That is insane.
Or drop off my car. One of the two. And I'm just like, like, holy shit. Like the robots are going to kill us all. Like I just remember as a kid thinking, watching these movies, like, this will never happen. I'm like, we're here. Like, like this dude's telling me that in about 5 years I'm going to fall in love with a robot, and then they're going to decide if they want me around or not. I'm like, well, I'm fucked.
There you go. It's all predetermined in the end, anyways. It's hopeless.
Apparently so, man. Apparently so.
All right, partner. Until the next one.
Absolutely, man.
It will never out of material.
No.
All right, friends. We're out.